Deep in the Sahyadri mountains, there was a village called Barbarpur. The village was in the middle of a green forest where there grew the most delicious fruits and vegetables. So the people were prosperous and happy and had nothing much to do most of the time. So they talked and gossiped and told tall tales. Some of the tales they told were so tall that if you put them one on top of the other, they would reach the stars. In the same village, there was an ill-tempered man called Pandurang. He was so grumpy that no one in the village had ever seen him smile. He was so dour that people said that milk turned into curd when he looked at it. He scowled at stories and snorted at jokes. So people stayed away from him. No one ever went anywhere near his house, and he was quite satisfied with this state of affairs. Pandurang often went down to the town in the plains to sell the fruits that grew in his backyard. One day, as he was coming back from the town, he had a sudden coughing fit. He coughed and coughed. Something seemed to be stuck in his throat. So he coughed and coughed again and spat out a feather. Imagine his surprise. He frowned at the feather. He scowled at the sky. How could a feather that belonged to a bird have come into his throat? He could not understand it at all. After a while, he set off again towards the village. But every few minutes, he stopped, looked at the sky, shook his head, and cleared his throat. By the time he reached home, his head was aching, his throat was sore, and a deep furrow had settled between his eyebrows. "What's the matter? Why do you look like you've swallowed a lemon?" asked his wife Gangubai. "Gangu," whispered Pandurang hoarsely, "the strangest thing happened today." "What?" asked Gangubai. "I was coming from the town. It was warm and beautiful weather, when suddenly I coughed and out came a white downy feather." "A feather? How's that?" asked Gangu. "I don't know," whispered Pandurang. "But don't tell anyone." "Of course," said Gangubai. And as soon as Pandurang had eaten his lunch and gone to take a nap, she slipped off to see her neighbor and best friend, Sakubai. "Saku," she whispered through the gate. "Come here. I have to tell you something. The strangest thing happened today." "What?" asked Sakubai. "It's the strangest thing I've heard. My husband coughed a bird. When he tried to talk, it flew out like a word. When he tried to sing, it flapped out like a song. A bird out of his mouth? I think something is wrong." "A bird? How's that?" asked Sakubai. "I don't know," said Gangubai, "but don't tell anyone." "Of course," said Sakubai. And as soon as Gangubai had left, she went to visit her mother-in-law on the other side of the village. Sasubai! She called out to her mother-in-law. Do you know, the strangest thing happened today? What? Asked her mother-in-law. My friend Gangu, who lives over there, told me something that made me stare. She said her husband had gone out of town, and when he came back, guess what she found? What? Asked Sasubai, her head ready to burst with curiosity. A flock of white birds were flying right out of her husband Pandurang's wide open mouth. A flock of birds? How's that? I don't know, but don't tell anyone. Of course, said her mother-in-law. And as soon as Sakubai had left, she went to her brother, who was lying under a guava tree and dreaming of mangoes. Babia! She shouted to her brother. Do you know? The strangest thing happened today. What? Asked Babia grumpily. He had just been about to eat the mango in his dream. A tree grew inside Pandu's mouth. It grew and grew and grew and grew. And on that tree there came to nest a flock of birds, full 62. And when Pandu opened his mouth, they flew and flew and flew and flew. I barely can believe the tale, but Saku saw it, so it's true. A tree with nests full of birds? How's that? I don't know, but don't tell anyone. Of course, said Babia. And as soon as his sister had left, he went to the tea shop where Ramu and Lakhya were drinking a cup of strong masala chai. Ai Ramya, Lakhya, he grunted. Do you know? The strangest thing happened today. What? Asked Ramu and Lakhya, bored. Nothing ever happened in Barbarpur. You know old Pandu, that one? The grumpy chap, Ganya Bhau's son. He swallowed a forest in town. I'm telling the truth, don't frown. Saku, my niece-in-law, told Kai, my sister, she saw the forest of trees in his jaw, with birds going chirrup and caw. When he opened his mouth to say hi, all the birds started to fly. A whole forest? How's that? I don't know, but don't tell anyone. Very soon, it was all around the village that there was a forest growing in Pandurang's mouth. And it was full of tigers, monkeys, wolves, bears, and elephants. And that when Pandurang opened his mouth and talked, out flew parrots and mynas, peacocks, koels, hoopers, woodpeckers, kingfishers. The list grew longer and longer. Naturally, people began to head for Pandurang's house to see this wonderful sight. They forgot all about his grumpiness and his bad temper in their eagerness to see the things growing and birds flying out of his mouth. Pandurang, meanwhile, tired with the effort of having spat a feather, was fast asleep. His mouth was open, a horrible snoring came from deep within his nose, and his stomach heaved up and down as if keeping time to the snores. Suddenly, his sleep was disturbed by the sound of voices. Pandurang disliked human voices. Scowling and muttering, he got up and went to the door. His wife Gangu was standing there, talking to what looked like the whole village. In fact, it was the whole village, except for one deaf old man who hadn't heard the rumor and was sitting at home calling for his supper. When Pandu appeared at the door, a gasp passed through the crowd. There was a sudden silence as they all stared at him, waiting for him to say something so that they could see the flocks of birds flying out of his mouth. Pandu opened his mouth, a loud sigh of expectation from the crowd, and he yawned. A murmur of disappointment. Suddenly, someone in the crowd shouted, "Aye, Pandu, say something." Pandu scowled harder. The furrow on his forehead grew so deep that if you filled it with water, you could sail a ship in it. "Go away," he said. And of course, nothing came out of his mouth. Everyone started talking at the same time. Where's the forest? Where are the tigers? Where's the flock? Where's the bird? Where's the feather? Where's the... "Stop!" shouted Pandu. "Will someone tell me what's going on?"
We heard that in your mouth were beasts of every kind. Yes, we thought we'd find beasts of every kind.
Beasts of every kind, beasts of every kind.
We heard that there were leopards, tigers, wolves and bears. We thought we'd see them there, tigers, wolves and bears.
We also heard that there was a flock of flying birds. We also heard that there was a flock of flying birds.
A flock of flying birds, a flock of flying birds.
Yes, this is what we heard, that there's a flock of birds. We heard that when you speak, the birds are fly right out.
Yes, out of your mouth, we heard that birds fly out.
Well, at least we thought that we would see one bird. Yes, with every bird, we thought you'd fit a bird. If not a whole big bird, we thought we'd see a feather.
It's not a whole big bird, we thought we'd see a feather.
We are waiting for it, brother. Let's see you spit a feather.
We heard that in your mouth were beasts of every kind. Yes, we thought we'd find beasts of every kind.
Pandu listened to them with a deep frown on his face. But with each outrageous line, his frown got lighter and lighter. And by the time they had got to the feather, a big smile broke out on his face. This was such a rare sight that the crowd went silent with awe. And in that silence fell the rarest sound that Barbarpur had ever heard. Pandu laughed. He laughed and laughed till he was rolling around on the ground. Soon the whole village was shrieking and roaring and gasping with laughter. And even today, everyone in Barbarpur talks about the day that Pandu spat a feather and laughed till he cried. Everyone except one deaf old man who went to sleep without his supper.
We heard that in your mouth were beasts of every kind. Yes, we thought we'd find beasts of every kind.
Beasts of every kind, beasts of every kind.
We heard that there were leopards, tigers, wolves and bears. We thought we'd see them there. Tigers, wolves and bears.
We also heard that there was a flock of flying birds. We also heard that there was a flock of flying birds.
A flock of flying birds, a flock of flying birds.
Yes, this is what we heard, that there's a flock of birds. We heard that when you speak, the birds will fly right out.
Yes, out of your mouth, we heard that birds fly out.
Well, at least we thought that we would see one bird. Yes, with every word, we thought you'd fit a bird. If not a whole big bird, we thought we'd see a feather.
It's not a whole big bird, we thought we'd see a feather.
We are waiting for it, brother. Let's see you spit a feather.
We heard that in your mouth were beasts of every kind. And yes, we thought we'd find beasts of every kind.
It was the last night of the year. As a velvety blanket of stars draped the moonlit sky, the entire kingdom of Muruda fell into a deep slumber. Men, women and children stumbled sleepily into their beds and escaped into the world of dreams. In the deep silence of the pitch-black night, only one sound could be heard again and again and again. Ching, ching, ching. The sound echoed in the little streets and tiny corners of the kingdom, and could be traced all the way to the top of the hill where the royal palace stood. It continued through the marble corridors, up the carpeted staircase, and into the chambers of Raja Domak, the king of Muruda. Raja Domak sat in his treasury with a look of contentment on his face. Across him sat the Raja's Mantri, with an enormous pile of coins next to him. His nimble fingers were carefully counting the coins one by one. As he counted them, he dropped each coin into a giant chest. "That's the last coin, Your Majesty," said the Mantri as he dropped the final piece into the large box. "I've filled 42 such chests in the treasury." "Have all the people made their contribution?" asked Raja Domak. "Yes, Your Majesty," said the Mantri. "Excellent," said Raja Domak gleefully, satisfied that his coffers were overflowing. It was not that the Raja was a bad king or even a greedy one. It was just that he became very insecure when his treasure house was not full. So even when his kingdom was suffering from drought and famine, he was reluctant to use the money to help his people. "Good night then," said the Raja as he happily retired to his bed. But the people of the kingdom were not happy. The riches of Muruda remained confined to the Raja's treasury. The rest of the kingdom could only watch helplessly as their hard-earned savings made their way into the king's treasure chest. The Mantri brought the people's complaints to the king, but Raja Domak would not listen. "We must not be foolish and spend the kingdom's wealth," he cried. However, the next day, Raja Domak decided to make a visit through his kingdom in disguise. He often did this. It was one of his ways of finding out how his kingdom was faring. His Mantri usually accompanied him on this trip, but this year, with his Mantri constantly bringing him complaints about his people, the king decided to make the trip on his own. He wanted to find out for himself if what the Mantri had reported was true. A little way into a small village, the Raja got off his horse for a drink of water. Suddenly, a buzzing sound filled his ears. Then he felt something fluttering inside his turban. To his horror, the Raja realized that a bee had flown into his turban and was now fluttering about frantically. Try as he might, he could not get his turban off. Raja Domak began jumping up and down and shaking from one side to the other. In a nearby field, little Lakshmi was humming to herself, playing hopscotch, when a strange sight caught her attention. There was a man prancing about near the stream as if he was doing some sort of dance. Suddenly he disappeared behind a bush. Just as Lakshmi approached the bush to get a closer look, the Raja popped up again, still hopping up and down, holding his turban. She could hear the buzzing of the bee. With the speed of lightning, Lakshmi dashed across to the king and yanked off his turban and threw it away. The bee immediately flew out of the turban and away into the fields. The Raja, exhausted, sat back in relief. "Thank you, little girl," said the Raja. With his turban off, Lakshmi recognized the king and immediately bowed low. "Your Majesty," she cried, "I didn't know it was you." "How can I reward you for helping me get rid of that bee?" asked the Raja. Lakshmi hesitated. "Go on and tell me, little girl. I'm sure there must be something that I can do," urged Raja Dhomak again. "Just give me 1 paisa, Your Majesty," said Lakshmi softly. "What?" asked the Raja, bewildered and not sure if he had heard correctly. "Did you say 1 paisa?" "Yes, just 1 paisa," said Lakshmi a little louder now. No, don't be shy. Come on, ask for something else. I insist," said the Raja, very amused with his little girl. Very well then, if you insist," said Lakshmi. "I would like you to double the number of paisa with each day for 1 month. 1 paisa on the first day, 2 on the second day, 4 on the third day, 8 on the fourth day, and so on." Then with a sweet smile she added, "Only for 30 days, of course." Raja Dhomak chuckled. Lakshmi's request seemed very small indeed. Just 1 paisa? No jewels or gold, just a few paise. "You shall have what you asked for," said Raja Dhomak. "My messenger will personally come and give you your reward every day for a month." And that was exactly what happened. Every day Raja Dhomak sent a messenger to Lakshmi with the money. And over the next 5 days handed out 4, 8, 16, 32 and 64 paise to his messenger. The Raja was very amused about Lakshmi's earnest desire for such a small amount. He even felt sorry for her. Every day the number doubled, and by the 15th day, instead of just placing a few coins in his messenger's hand, he had to send a bag carrying 16,384 paise, more than 150 rupees. Nevertheless, the king had millions of coins in his coffers. 100 rupees was not even what he spent on his lunch. By the 20th day, Raja Dhomak was starting to get worried. Lakshmi's simple request for 1 paisa had turned into 5,24,288 paise, more than 5,000 rupees. The king could still easily afford it, but by no means it was the mere pittance he had initially assumed it would be. No longer could he send the coins with a single messenger. An entire troop of messengers had to take the coins to Lakshmi on horseback. On the 25th day, Raja Dhomak had to send out a whopping 1,67,77,216 paise to Lakshmi. It was more than 1,00,000 rupees. He was now starting to make a serious dent in his treasury. This had to stop.
Just 1 paisa, only 1 paisa, a single paisa, 1 paisa. Just Just 1 paisa, only 1 paisa, a single paisa, 1 paisa. 1 to 2, 2 to 4, double that to make some more. 1 to 2, 2 to 4, double that to make some more. When you double what you got, you will find you have a lot. You will find that you have a lot. Coins, 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 double. Raja Dhumak is in trouble. Coins, 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 double. Raja Dhumak is in trouble. All his money goes and goes. Lakshmi's wealth grows and grows. Just 1 paisa, only 1 paisa, a single paisa, 1 paisa. Just 1 paisa, only 1 paisa, a single paisa, 1 paisa. Double that and get some more. 2, 4, 8, 16, more than you ever see. 32, 64, double that and get some more. Just 1 paisa, only 1 paisa, a single paisa, 1 paisa. Just 1 paisa, only 1 paisa, a single paisa, 1 paisa.
The Raja sent for his mantri and told him the story. The mantri's eyes grew wide with horror. "Your Majesty," he gasped, "what have you done? You must stop this immediately. I wish you had told me about this sooner. If you continue doing this, by the 30th day, you will have to send the girl 53 crore 68 lakh 70,912 paise. That is more than 50 lakh rupees. In total, over the 30 days, she would have received 107 crore 37 lakh 41,823 paise. That's more than 1 crore of rupees, Your Majesty. We don't even have that much money. At this rate, our coffers will be empty in the next 3 days." Raja Dhumak almost fell off his throne in shock. What he had thought of as a silly request had actually turned out to be the smartest plan he had ever heard. "Send for Lakshmi immediately," he said. Lakshmi arrived at the palace. "Little one, do you realize what you have done?" demanded Raja Dhumak. "Our kingdom was supposed to be the richest in this land. You have reduced it to being the poorest." Lakshmi smiled. "Your Majesty, we are still the richest kingdom in this land. I have distributed the money among all the people. The only difference is that instead of being in your treasury, the money is now among the people. Your Majesty, do you see how money grows exponentially even by doubling just 1 paisa?" Raja Dhumak saw the wisdom of Lakshmi's words. After all, money wisely invested was better than money being stored away in his own treasury. From that day on, Raja Dhumak never asked his people to surrender their earnings to him. Muruda became a bright and happy place, all thanks to the clever little mathematician in the kingdom. And the only clinking sound that was ever heard was the cheery clinking of the coins in the people's very own pockets. And Lakshmi? Well, she grew up to become the chief economist, making reforms and spending the kingdom's money wisely.
Just 1 paisa, only 1 paisa, a single paisa, 1 paisa. Just 1 paisa, only 1 paisa, a single paisa, 1 paisa. Just 1 paisa, only 1 paisa, a single paisa, 1 paisa. 1 to 2, 2 to 4, double that to make some more. 1 to a double, Raja Dhumak is in trouble. Coins, coins, coins a double, Raja Dhumak is in trouble. All his money goes and goes, Lakshmi's wealth grows and grows. Just one paisa, only one paisa, a single paisa, one paisa. Just one paisa, only one paisa, a single paisa, one paisa. 32, 64. Double that and get some more. 2, 4, 8, 16. More than you ever see. 32, 64. Double that and get some more. Just one paisa, only one paisa, a single paisa, one paisa.